And we are live. Gentlemen, welcome back to another episode of the Mecca of Banter podcast. Always a pleasure being here. It's your boy Hen. It is a great week to be a Manchester United fan because we have nothing to do with this Club World Cup. We get to chill for another week. It's kind of crazy to say, but we're like a week away from clubs reporting back to training. July 7th is the date, which is crazy. So we got that to look forward to. Some transfer discussions for both of our clubs, Hoover, that we're actually not going to talk about today at all because that's not, it's the summer. We don't need to talk about that. But we have some games with St. Louis City and the U.S. men's national team to discuss. We got some thoughts, got some questions. We got lots of questions. But without further ado, Andy Hoover, how are you today?
I'm good, man. I'm good. We gave up on the St. Louis City season, I feel like, a long time ago, so it's not really as, it's not as jarring anymore to discuss losses. My mind has already kind of moved on to season 4, what we could maybe expect out of that, the players that we hope to keep or lose, so that's not too bad. And I also have to continue to remind myself that this is not the United States men's national team that will be representing us in the World Cup. Sometimes I think it's easy to forget about that. We're definitely looking at a B, maybe C squad, B minus squad for sure. But they got the job done, so you move. Whenever a team you support does anything positive, even if it was bad while being positive, you take it.
I would say it's a B plus squad, U.S.
B
men's
plus
national team, because there's some very clear starters missing. More than half of the starters are missing. Yeah. But it is a U.S. men's national team that has Chris Richards in it. It has Tim Ream. It has Tyler Adams. You have to believe that, Diego Luna will be there. Malik Tillman will be there. Luca De La Torre has been, we've been a fan of him on this podcast. So I'll give it a B squad, B plus squad, but we'll dive into that. But let's check in with our sponsor for tonight's episode. We don't have one. So if you're listening to this and you'd love to sponsor our podcast for this summer and into the fall, we'd love to have you. We've had some great partnerships and great sponsorships in the past. Looking to bring one on for the Premier League season here in the fall. So if you or someone you know is looking to sponsor a pod, holler at us.
Hey, and look, we will go to the ends of the earth to promote your product, service, venue, etc. We are true to our word when it comes to sponsorships, and if there's literally anything in it for us, we will do what we can to pump that for you. So
absolutely. So this could be your time slot.
Could be you. We could be ripping it right now. We got great clips that you could use. You could use whatever you want out of this. We'll pump it the whole time.
Come on.
We're here.
Goal is to have our new sponsorship up and running for August for the kickoff of the Premier League season and kicking off season 5 of the pod, which is nuts. But let's talk St. Louis City, shall we?
Sure.
Sure. Fuck it. You know what I'm saying?
Why not? What else do we have to lose?
It's funny that you introed it the way that you did, talking about how we've given up on this season as St. Louis City fans. I agree with you. What's wild is we have 2 losses to talk about tonight, and the emotional attachment that I feel to both of them is 0. Zilch, nothing. I am watching these games looking for just some sort of silver lining, and there are some times where I can take something out of it. We got to see 2 goals against Orlando. Cool. We scored 3 goals the game before. Cool. And we had a good center back partnership, in this last game. Cool. But let's start off with the loss to Orlando City Wednesday, midweek game, a 4-2 smashing. We were 3-0 down 25 minutes into the game, and there was just quite literally nothing redeeming about this game whatsoever. But Orlando was kind of sick. They were fun to watch.
Yeah, I was there. Dude, the first build up, it started right in front of me, just to the right of the goal, and I'm with my buddies, and I'm watching this interplay, pass, 1 time, 2 around the corner, through to the middle, long pass wide. Two players streaking back post in the box, easy tapping on the slotted ball. It was gorgeous build up.
It was a good goal. I liked it.
It was a great goal, and I literally I sat back, whistled, and was like, "We just got torched. We just got torched." The second one was a little bit of the same, but of long range finish. Not much you can do about that. Berkey said himself that he feels he should have got a better jump on it. And I take his word for it. Anytime that he puts his hand up and says that he's at fault, because he lets it fly on the other guys when they're at fault.
Yeah,
so
100%.
he really is, captain, mentor, a team player, and recognizes when he can do better. But end of the day, he was just left out to dry more often than not. Yeah, some interesting goals from our side.
Yeah. I mean, I was stoked whenever Simon scored his goal. I mean, it's been a long time coming for him, and just a hustle play,
Yeah.
Klaus had a great goal as well. The big man's firing. Do I think that he will be a city player at the end of the season? No, I do not. But, I'm enjoying watching this redemption arc out of him. But I really want to just give some flowers on this game too. Two guys that came in off the bench. I thought Joey Zielinski looked great again in this game. He played the last 22 minutes of this game. Totland, man, he's struggling coming back from this injury. It is just we're just not seeing the same player, and off the field. Like, he had a kid. Like, maybe there's a little bit of that, like sleepless nights, and maybe his recovery isn't as great as what it could be. And no shame in that, but we're seeing a very different Thomas Totland now than when he first came in. And Brendan McSorley also got to play 20 minutes in this game, and this was by far the best cameo he's had with the first team. Most of the time when he gets minutes, granted, it's only been like 3 or 4 other times, it's like 5 to 10 minutes at a time. He doesn't touch the ball, and when he does, he kind of looks like a chicken with his head cut off.
Yeah.
But he got 20 minutes, and he had some chances. He made some things happen, and he also made a great defensive play, tracking a guy back and putting in a slide tackle. So I love seeing that from the kid. What's interesting about Critchley is obviously he was the City 2 manager up until a couple of weeks ago. He knows all those guys. He knows all the City 2 guys. He knows them inside and out. And so anytime he brings in and gives minutes to a City 2 guy, that it's well warranted. So, that's about it in terms of the redeeming qualities. We did get to see a Kyle Hebert feature at the center back position, which I know that we've talked about this a lot, but he can't be the guy ever again. And it's showing, he hasn't played in a couple of games, and he was thrust into this one. And man, some of those goals that we gave up, while you can't solely place it on Hebert, it just doesn't help his cause, man. And then, we laugh sometimes about the triangle of death, with Kyle Hebert and Akil Watts. And they both were in this game, and they were both really bad in this game. And that bad form from Akil Watts actually carried over to the Saturday night loss, 1-0 against Houston. Now, Akil was not starting this game. He came in off the bench after an early injury. But man, did he put in a stinker. I feel like we're long past now as a fan base. We're long past like the pile up on certain players, just because what's the point, Yeah. But Chat City Tactics, who obviously we're massive fans of on this podcast, today he put something on his social media of like Akil Watts put in potentially the worst performance in a City shirt in its club's history, up there with Blom against Minnesota United, 2 years ago, last year, whatever it was. And you got to feel for the guy. He wasn't starting the game. Comes in 15 minutes in after a Morales injury. Maybe broke his collarbone. Don't know what happened there, but it was just a really poor performance. And so I'm a little bit, to be honest with you, like, I'm not like super down in the dumps at this 1-0 loss. I thought there were parts of it that were incredibly chaotic, most notably that first half from both sides. I mean, Houston was super dirty. We were dirty right back. It was a really physical game, but I don't particularly think that we were like really poor in the first half. And I liked what I saw out of the Wenzel Girdwood Reich partnership. I think with the injuries that we have, and while we can't have Nilsson and we can't have Kessler in the lineup ever again, I guess, neither of those guys can stay healthy right now. For me, Wenzel and Girdwood Reich like earned another start, in my opinion. I was like, I liked what I saw from them. If they were clearly better passers on the ball than Kyle Hebert, than Baumgartel, than Josh Yarrow. Clearly, both of those guys were better at passing the ball. And for the most part, they were pretty solid defensively as well. Now, the one goal that Houston ended up scoring, I don't think that you can really put that on Wenzel or Girdwood Reich. Taylor Twellman tweeted it, bro. Like he like screen grabbed the 90 seconds that was the goal, and you can see 7 like St. Louis City players just standing in the box without moving. Yep. The only 2 that moved were JGR and Wenzel. They were the only 2 guys other than Berkey that were even moving into the box. So I'm not as like doom and gloom on this 1-0 loss against Houston. I thought that the guys showed fight. I thought that they showed heart on the field. It just didn't happen. It just didn't come off for them. They didn't get the result. But yeah, I kind of like at the end of the game, I kind of turned off TV and was like, all right, well, that was something, you know?
Yeah.
What were your thoughts on it? Anything?
I saw a comment too, I guess after the game. JGR considers himself a center back.
Yeah.
And it was never really it was like, oh, maybe a defensive midfielder, maybe a center back. And he was kind of like, nah, I pretty much played center back my whole life. I'd rather be there. I'm glad I'm getting a shot. But God, dude, why is that the thing that we keep hearing from guys that on our team that we're asking to do things that they don't really want to do? We've got Lowen playing a 6. We've gotten like, he was the 10 all first year and the last year. And then he's really like, I prefer, deep lying playmaker, defensive mid-minded. Like, okay, great to find that out now. And same with him. Like, in my opinion, and we say this a lot when it relates to our Premier League teams and European teams, when you're in the end of the season and there's no playoffs, you're out of the cups, there's not a whole lot of movement available left on the table. Play the kids. I want to see the kids. Those are the guys that have the most potential to find themselves in a better position next year than some of these guys that are running out of contract. I don't think Berkey stays. No. I think that sucks. That one hurts. I think that one hurts the most because he's proved over and over and over that he can still go anywhere and be number 1. Lowen, I don't know if he's here either, and I think that's that one is an easier pill to swallow given his off-field situation. And end of the day,
the fact that we haven't watched him in a year,
right?
Like he hasn't been around in a year.
I want the guy to be, where he needs to be in life, and I want him to succeed as a person first, and then hopefully a footballer second. Mm-hmm. And then there's Klaus, and I think Klaus is another one that you mentioned already that you don't think will be here. That one's tough because I do think he laid it all on the line, and sometimes it just didn't click. I think sometimes that was roster construction. I think sometimes that was his lack of confidence at points last year. There's a couple factors on that one that I don't feel as bad about because I do think that would be a good business move. I think he's earning back his value in a transfer sense now. I think he could succeed at about any other MLS club or, Bundesliga 2 or somewhere in the Netherlands. I think he's still got that available to him. But those are big pieces that we might be losing. So at this point, it's like, all right, we've got Kessler. I know for a fact Kessler is my center back of the future. I'm good with him being there. I'm good with him staying, and everything's going to be great. Let's get some runs for JGR. Let's get some runs for Zielinski. And, why not throw McSorley in there? What about I thought Wenzel was mad decent. I made the comment that they were bulldogs. They were see ball, chase ball, lay body. And I loved that. It was chaotic and at times not what they needed situationally. But, man, it was good to just see and watch. And it was 2 guys fighting for a position on this team. And we haven't seen a ton of that this year in general. So I love it. Play the kids. This game definitely didn't bother me as much. We didn't build or show anything up front.
Mm-hmm.
Um, you know, I saw online that Michael with 101 ESPN, and in the Sports Hub, I forget his last name, starts with an R, but he pointed out the Kojima trade, and
Mm.
that is glaring
Yeah.
now. I
Yeah.
mean, I understand where we thought we were with, center mids on the squad,
Mm-hmm.
but couple injuries later, was there really confidence that that Watts was going to be better than Kojima in that position, or do you get something like I don't really follow now where that mindset was in getting rid of him because we were all thought he was super promising. He's playing okay, I think, decently in the league for is he with DC?
Mm-hmm.
Um, that one, it kind of comes back to Lutz. All like we're through 3 year. He had a three. What do you say? He had a 5 year plan.
Yeah.
Year three is proving to be just as fruitless as year two, and year
We're
one,
further off in year 3 than we were in year 2.
right? And
We
year
at least had
one
some sort of wins.
feels more like a fluke than it ever felt like success at this
Yeah,
point.
I agree.
Because after July, dude, we tanked.
Yeah.
We've been bad since July of 23.
Mm-hmm.
So that's glaring. That's evident. And I would say 2.5 years of his 5 year plan, we're halfway through, has been almost a complete failure. If we don't make the playoffs in the top slot and have the first run that we have in the first half of the first season, it's a complete failure. So I'm starting to hang questions around the front office, around Lutz. Um, it's a weird time to be a fan at this point. It sucks not getting playoff soccer again, which
Mm-hmm.
is really all anybody wanted, I think, this year. And in the scheme of MLS, isn't that hard to do?
Yep.
Uh, it's being in the bottom 35% of all of the teams in the last 2 years sucks. So it's a bummer, but that's why this is why we do this. We're going to be here again next year. We're going to be here the year after that. We're going to continue to support. That's what good fans do.
Mm-hmm.
They're going to have to start, doing something though. We need some action.
I think what freaks me out though is like, yeah, you mentioned the front of house and Lutz, like, but we also know that this isn't Football Manager. This isn't
No,
FIFA. Like, you can't just clear house and start over. But I'm just looking at our squad list, right? Um, there are so many guys on here that either I don't believe will be here next season or aren't good enough to do it.
yeah,
So, of those names that I'm just looking at, Leuven, Klaus, Nilsson, Vollum, I don't think that we'll be able to sign him. I think he'll be too expensive. Kyle Hebert, Rasmus Alm, Ostruck, Giannis Horn, we know already isn't going to be here. This Jande Silva guy, I'm not convinced on him whatsoever. Josh Yarrow, Akil Watts, Alfredo Morales. Like, we're getting up there in a lot of people that we would have to move on or sell or cut loose. I don't know what roster constructions or contracts are off the top of my head, but we're looking at a lot of guys that we would have to move on, and I just don't think that we're going to be able to do it. So unless, the other thing too, just to call it out, what are we, 2 weeks away from the transfer window for the MLS?
yeah,
And last year, Lutz went out and did something.
yep,
Like he did make that happen, and I think that like we would be, it would be foolish of us not to call that out. But I don't know how much we're really going to do, especially when half of our roster is hurt.
yep,
We can't move on people like Nilsson this transfer window because he's not fit. He's not he's injured. We can't do that. Same thing with Alm. Alm hasn't. We'll probably never see Alm put on a City shirt ever again, and that's just bad. So yeah, you look at the Kojima stuff, and again, I could be talking out of my ass here, but like, did we protect Alm in the draft?
yeah. I don't remember.
or Nilsson or whatever. Like, why would we do that? So it's just like stuff like that, Lutz is kind of on the hot seat, bro. 3 years into a 5-year plan, it is not looking good. And so very curious of how all that's going to work out.
Yeah, I mean, Kojima started 17 games for DC United. Now he's not been, setting it on fire, but 17 games is more than we've had Lohan.
Right.
Like that's more than we've had. Like we just need, and we've got this partnership with BJC Healthcare and all this stuff, and you'd think we've got the best facilities in the league, and we've got amazing front office fitness staff, and why is everybody getting hurt? Like at some point, dude, it's just a question of because I think you go through cycles in Europe where the manager may ask a lot of the players in practice and training and all this stuff, but we've gone through multiple managers and we can't keep anybody healthy. So I don't put this on any of the managers. And I don't really put it on the fitness staff. They're obviously doing what they can. They obviously are not, intentionally getting anybody hurt. That's not, what I'm insinuating here. But it's just, there's just we didn't play in multiple competitions. We weren't in multiple cups. We weren't in, I don't get how often these guys are down and why. So there's just so many problems, man. It sucks. It's hard to watch. We're trying to obviously find the silver linings, and we are, I think, a little bit with what's available to us. But you're right, dude. Looking at the squad list.
Well, let me take it one step further. So I'm going to read you off a list of names whose contracts are expiring this year. So December 31st of 2025.
Okay.
I want you to tell me keep or leaving. Leaving could be selling. Leaving could be end of loan, not being able to re-sign. What you think? So first off, Alfredo Morales.
Leaving.
Berkey.
I think he's leaving.
Ben Lunt.
I think Ben Lunt has to stay because Berkey's leaving.
Jean De Silva.
I think he's leaving.
Rasmus Alm.
I think Alm's gone.
Durkin.
I think we re-signed Durkin.
Selmir Pedro, who is somehow still on our books.
That guy's been scamming us for years.
He's gone.
He's got to be. Yeah, they got to get out of that contract.
Josh Yarrow.
Gone.
Klaus.
I think he leaves.
Conrad Vollum.
Dude, that's the kicker, bro. I want him to stay. The guys that we listed, I love what I've seen out of him in a struggling team. So, I don't know. I think you move on some of those high-dollar contract guys. You can maybe buy all of them down.
Yeah. Let's go keep. Akil Watts.
I would bet we keep him.
Blom.
Why isn't he playing? Why isn't he in training?
Technically, his contract, his loan is over. What is it? Tomorrow?
Oh,
tomorrow.
Yep.
Yeah. So today is his last day in contract on that loan. So Blom is with us until the end of December.
I mean, he's going to be gone too, unless he somehow becomes the 6th that we've needed.
Michael Wenzel.
I think we keep Wenzel.
Kessler.
Kessler has to stay.
Christian Oliveira's third choice goalkeeper.
I don't think he goes anywhere. I also know nothing about the guy. So
23 years old. I'm sure that we'll re-sign him.
Yeah.
Zielinski.
I think Zielinski stays for sure.
Miggy Perez.
There's a world where we move on from Miggy. He can't even crack the second team at this point.
Jay Reed.
I think we re-sign Jay Reed. I think we look to replace him, but
all of those guys that I just named all have contracts expiring at the end of the year.
Damn.
Isn't that crazy? So 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14 is 14 guys have contracts past this year. And that includes guys like Caden Glover, Tyson Pierce, Mackay Joyner, which are all City 2 guys.
And we what did we say? Keep 4 of them? 4?
Yeah. Mm-hmm. So it's the front office really has some shit to figure out for the St. Louis City team.
Yeah, they do.
Because again, it is not FIFA. It is not Football Manager where you can literally clear house. And so you think about guys like let's say Celio, right?
Mm-hmm.
I don't want him to go anywhere.
No,
But
hell no.
could you use Celio in some sort of transaction where we send Celio one way and we get other guys, or you look at guys, whatever it may be, and it's not always like in soccer. Trades don't happen often.
Mm-hmm.
Like player swaps is what they call them in soccer. Like, doesn't happen very frequently. But we're not going to be bringing in people and offloading other people.
Yeah.
It does have to do things.
Yep.
It's getting weird. I have no idea what like the core of this team is going to look like. I think about even like I'll shout out Dylan Lee on this one. Teutschert, like he came in last year and had a great back half of the season. He's been bad this year. Like he has not been good. I mean, he got benched for this game, and yes, he came on towards the end of the game, but like he's not starting. Like that's a problem. I love that Simon Betcher goes in and is a shit disturber and is doing all of that stuff, and he scored. And I want that for Simon. I want Simon to come in off the bench, bro. Like I don't want him to have to feel like he's starting games. But right now, we said at the beginning of the season, Cedric couldn't stay healthy. What was he doing? He was playing like 50 minutes a game, 60 minutes a game, couldn't go 90, and he's just regressed a ton this season. So I don't know. I even look at that like Marcel Hartle, Teutschert.
I don't even know where Teutschert plays still.
Yeah, well, that's the thing. Like he was playing that 9 role whenever Klaus was injured, and he was doing his best as a 9. But then now that Klaus is back, Klaus and Teutschert don't play well together.
No,
they don't fit. But Klaus is playing well, so it's like I don't know, man. It's fucking weird. The whole roster construction is weird. We so desperately need some center midfielders. We need a good. We need a lot of positions.
Yeah. I'm lost on this team's going to be completely different beginning of next year.
Yep, 100%. Let's talk U.S. men's national team, shall we?
Sure.
For those of you that don't know, the U.S. men's national team is playing in the Gold Cup, which is a competition that only affects the CONCACAF nations. Also, by the way, I was watching the inner. Who did they play today? Flamingo. Milan Flamingo today, and at one point the announcer said something to the extent of like, well, we are in the CONCACAF part of the world, and that situation that just happened there was very CONCACAF-y.
Yeah.
And I was like, damn it. But anyway, U.S. men's national team playing their B to B plus squad has advanced to the semifinals by the hair on their chin, escaping the Ticos of Costa Rica. Hoover, how was this game for you yesterday? Was it a nail biter? How did you feel about how we showed up? Some good things, some bad things. There's a lot to talk about here.
Yeah, man. I mean, I think I have more questions than I do answers, and it's kind of felt that way the entire Gold Cup thus far. Mm-hmm. Like, I've got questions on players. I've got questions on player selection. I've got questions on Poch. I've got questions on in-game Pochettino management. I think my first reaction is neither of these wingbacks will be playing for us in the World Cup, and that makes me feel good. That is a little piece of satisfaction that I can take away from it. And again, we don't want to just dog guys the whole time. It is what it is. But Freeman and Arfstesen were not good. No. Now, given that, Arfstesen got an assist on a Diego Luna deflected goal, and then he scores a really good goal, from a Tillman slip pass, and you give him that. His tackle in the box in the first 15 minutes is
so bad,
inexcusable. I've watched it 4 or 5 times now, and there's not one time where I was like, I couldn't find anything to be like, oh, maybe this was... No, brother. He went flying on this guy and was behind him by a full step. There was just never any world where he was going to win that tackle. So, And then you know what? Man of the match at the end of the day. It's like
Yeah,
good for
crazy.
him. I said this. You're like, man, good for the kid. And I was like, yeah, good for the kid. I was just kind of annoyed that I've built this profile up in my head of him, and he scored. He tucked a nice goal. He tucked a nice goal. There's no way around it. But knowing that they're not going to be there gives me a little bit of comfort.
Freeman hit a great penalty too.
Freeman did
He
hit a
stepped
really
up,
good.
20 years old,
Yeah.
looked at Keylor Navas in the eye and said, fuck you.
Yeah, and he's young, and I think Arston's 24. Freeman's young, and I think Freeman's got something going for him. I just don't think he's to the level yet. Other takeaways. Chris Richards has gotten so much better in a calendar year. I think he was never really a concern to be on that World Cup roster, but he really, he was 50-50 all year with Palace and getting a, squad kind of role, rotational. And then he plays in the FA Cup final, and then Crystal Palace fans are like, please, God, never leave us. So we're seeing some of that now, which is so great to see. He's making really good passes out of the back. He
penciled himself in for like Chris Richards and who else? Like he's one of the spots.
Yeah, he's a presence in the air. He'll win a corner. I really like that, and I think Tillman too, dude. There's no question Tillman was the best player on the field. And I think he's been the best player on the field for every single game that he's played in the Golden Cup. And the outside of the missed penalty, which I think was unlucky, he struck it really well. Keylor Navas went the wrong way, and he just crushes the post. Leverkusen's got to feel pretty good about the price tag on him right now, and I think you're not asking for him to be, score 1 million goals against this lower level of competition. You just want him to be producing and look good, and he looked great. So they've got to be feeling good about that, and I really, really hope he's replacing Florian Wirtz. Like there's no way around it. So huge shoes to fill for him, but he's made his career path has been so good for his growth. Rangers to PSV to being one of the best players for PSV this year, and then that earns you that next level. So Tillman's a no question for me. Luna's a no question for me. I didn't get super emotionally invested in this match because I kind of it is what it is, and a loss would have pissed me off, but I kind of could have seen it coming. Pulling Luna was insane before the PK.
Crazy, bro.
That was an insane decision, and it was in the 83rd minute. And there were way more guys on that field that were more gassed than him.
Insane.
That was nuts.
And I don't know if that's something that like Pochettino is like he's just not a good penalty taker, because the other thing that makes it really interesting, who came in for him here? Jack McGlynn. Jack McGlynn came in for him. Jack McGlynn didn't take a penalty.
No.
So, like, that is interesting.
John Tolkien took a penalty.
Yeah, and it was bad.
Yeah.
It was a really bad penalty. And so, like, I think that is the thing, I think if the game was going to extra time, I think we would have seen Luna stay on.
Yeah.
But whenever Luna came off and he put Jack McGlynn on, Jack McGlynn, for me, was, like, nailed down as one of the 5 penalty takers. He takes free kicks for the U.S. men's national team. He takes corner kicks for the U.S. men's national team. And then to see him not take one of the 5, I was shocked.
The whole lineup of penalty takers was insane.
So starting off with Tyler Adams, I was like, okay, they had a discussion where Pochettino said someone needs to settle the nerves, and Tyler Adams definitely said, I got it.
Captain
no
Move.
worries.
Yep, that was I think that was his first professional PK. Captain Move.
Yeah.
And I was like surprised to see him. Yes, not nearly as surprised as who the final 4 were.
Yeah.
And then
so Malik Tillman makes sense, obviously,
and he scored a banger. His was a
great.
screamer. Yeah.
Yeah. Sebastian Berhalter, LOL, skies it over.
Got it.
And you know what? Like, I think what I hate is if Sebastian Berhalter's name was Aiden Morris or was Luca Del Torre, I'd be high on Berhalter. Like, I think he's pretty solid for his age. Like, again, I don't think he's an A player, but a B player. I'm fine with it. He's had a good tournament. But the fucking Fox broadcast talking about nothing but Sebastian Berhalter and Greg Berhalter for the entire game, he missed that penalty, and I was just like, the Berhalters again, bro. Like, it's
Yeah.
just he's not going to win over this fan base, which is unfortunate for him. But then,
Yeah, and it sucks because it's just his name. Like,
yeah, literally,
it is what it is.
Alex Freeman steps up, the right back, 20-year-old, buries it. It's
Random.
great. John Tolkien, terrible.
Also
pen.
random.
Damian Downs steps up, who we just learned about who he was yesterday, you know?
Yeah.
But the real story here is yet again a goalkeeper named Matt in the Gold Cup stepping up in penalty shootouts. Matt Turner did the exact same thing 2 years ago, and we saw Matt Freese guess correctly on every single penalty.
Every pen.
But save a couple. That is so massive. There's just not much more as a goalkeeper that you can do to hype up your team than save a penalty. And for you to save, 3 of 4?
Yeah.
Or 3 of 6 he saved. That's incredible. That is such a confidence boost. And the other thing that I'll be curious to see, I can't imagine that Pochettino switches it up, but when they come to St. Louis on Wednesday for the semifinal game, I hope we see Matt Freese again. I hope that Matt Freese gets, between the sticks. I don't really have any faith in Matt Turner in general as a goalkeeper. I need to see someone else, but you have to believe that there's someone out there that is a good goalkeeper that can stop shots, that cannot pass the ball into his own net, and maybe Matt Freese is going to be that guy. But we move on to Wednesday, again, by the hair of our chinny chin chin. Based on the way he was talking, we all thought that we'd see Canada in this game.
Right.
Jesse Marsh and Canada knocked out, bro. Which is just so fucking funny. At the beginning, it was all the conversation about how, not a single guy asked to, stay at home or anything like that. And then the first thing he says post-match is, well, we only have about half of our squad here. So,
yeah, one of them being their best player, who he played in a glorified friendly, and now his club is trying to sue Jesse Marsh for, because it was ridiculous. That was great. I mean, unfortunately, it's all so wishy-washy at this point, because we've not exactly seen a masterstroke from Pochettino.
No.
Like really yet. Like, there's not been a game that I'm like, wow, we really balled under him here. And you can see that there's an idea of an identity, for sure. The in-game decision-making was nuts. Like, everyone and their brother was watching this team start to get run into the ground by Costa Rica. And, we needed subs in the 65th, 70th. The first sub's 78, and it's Luca de la Torre for Damian Downs. So, yeah, we're taking out a more defensive-minded midfielder, putting on a striker. Patrick Aubameyang, the guy up front, was dead. He was dead, bro. There just was I could not believe my eyes that he was still playing. He's not done anything this tournament to earn that spot, in my opinion. I would rather watch Damian Downs or Brian White.
Me too.
Whatever. That's cool. Let's make that change at the very least. There's not been anything out of the Pochettino side that I'm stoked about. It's just kind of all felt so stagnant, and the conversation, man, maybe we should have had Jesse Marsh. But then he turns around and loses to Guatemala with a superior team, and in a tournament that was frankly his to lose. There's not been any good answers. Every time we think we needed something else, that something else also looks bad. We're just in a pretty lame space right now, and we're not going to know what our World Cup team looks like, obviously, till then. But the next couple major friendlies we have in the fall, I need to see the best 11. And I don't think Christian's going to turn down a call up to some European friendlies, and I don't think we're going to see a majority of the dogs, in my opinion, because they've heard their piece from everybody this summer. They can't do that again. So it's just all wishy-washy. I'm ready to take a risk on Freeze, because if we had a good shot stopper in Matt Turner. and not good with the ball and not getting many games and has been at fault for, an odd goal or two. I would tell you Matt Freese is probably just the same, but why not? Let's take a punt on him. Like, let's see what's going on. Like,
Yeah.
let's ride the hot hand. There's no chance you can sub him out for the semifinal on Wednesday. It's all just kind of meh. Like,
Yeah, it's
everything
weird.
it just feels weird, and we have a really good chance to win this tournament still. So I think the silver lining in all that is that Canada out, Mexico not really firing at their best. We beat Guatemala. We're in a final.
Yep. What do you make of, or do you make anything of Brendan Aronson not getting really any playtime this tournament?
I thought this game specifically was interesting because he's a press monster. Whether or not he is super influential in the buildup and progression of the ball, he's a press monster and he will run his ass off for you. I think both of the Aronsons will. It's kind of just in their DNA. So for them to not for Aronson to not come on for Luna to pull in a midfielder um, was weird. I wanted somebody on the wings that could give us some life and maybe just receive the ball and go make a 20-yard run, like something to take the pressure off of the back line. And we're starting to get pinned down towards the end of the middle of the second half. I thought that was interesting, and we've all kind of seen him fall off a little bit with in terms of where we thought he was maybe gonna be. But it's interesting for sure. The fact that he didn't get picked at all in a game that we needed legs says something to me 100%. But also the decision making from Pochettino and the subs that he made was also weird. Like,
Yeah.
it's there's two sides.
The whole thing feels weird. Like, the whole tournament feels weird. Like, the roster construction from the denials of opportunities to come in is weird. The choices are weird. It really does just feel like, I don't know. It feels like I'm watching like a preseason varsity team where they have a couple of varsity returners and they have a bunch of new guys.
Yep.
But we'll see. Wednesday's a really big opportunity, to make something happen. And just like you said, if we win that game, we're in a final, and it's never a bad idea before a World Cup to win a trophy in your last competitive opportunity to do so. So we should beat Guatemala, famous last words, but 16th in the world, USA, going up against 106th ranked Guatemala. We should be good, but we'll see. We'll see how the guys turn up, and we'll see if we're at the stadium for it. We'd love to be at that stadium. Regardless, come and hang at the pitch before the game. We'll be down there either just for pregame or we'll be there for the entire game, depending on just like the ticket situation. But come hang at the pitch before Wednesday's kickoff of the U.S. men's national team. Come say, hey, we'll be there. But Hoover,
this will be interesting, man. Can we break a low block?
Yeah, I mean, for real, like that. And who's gonna play?
Right.
Like I do feel like this has like a Luca Del Torre great performance written all over it because he is so crafty in the central midfield. Luna obviously is going to play. He's super crafty. Tillman, he'll play. But like, do you need Tyler Adams and Berhalter in like a double pivot? No. Tyler's passing range, however, over the last couple of games have been great. He covers so much ground. This obviously Tim Ream is going to play. We need him for the passing. Our back four is pretty much locked in.
Frankly,
do you need the Patrick? I keep wanting to call him Aubameyang, but that's not his name. Do we need him up top? I don't know. You probably need a little bit more intricate of a player. Is that Damian Downs? I have no idea.
I would love for it to be Damian Downs. There's no way you need Berhalter, Adams, and De La Torre. The way that they lined up, and I think it's not. I don't think that's that crazy against Costa Rica, who are a pretty talented team and will break you down if needed, and they're slick on the counter. So Guatemala is going to look to do a lot of the same. They're just going to have a whole lot less possession. So
Mhm.
you need another. This one may be Aronson. And Aronson, even just his movement to create space for other players. He doesn't get a lot of credit for his workability, and even in leads, a lot of his movement helps start plays. He's not necessarily on the beginning or the end of it, but he's always kind of there and involved. And I think, this is going to be a good test for, creativity and how Pochettino is going to be able to line them up to break down, guys who are going to sit back. It is what it is. Chris Richards and Tim Ream are going to be fine. Chris Richards is fast enough that he can cover for Tim Ream. And Tim Ream's another big body that you want on corners and such. But definitely confused and interested to see how we line up Wednesday.
I feel like this is a Brian White game.
Could be.
I don't think that we need a big, huge physical presence in the middle of the box. I just don't know how much we're going to be whipping balls in to cross.
Right.
I think that we're going to be trying to break teams down, and if we're whipping balls in, but I mean, Aubameyang falls a lot. He's on the ground a lot up there. So I don't know.
I think I'm gonna stick with Ajamang.
Ajamang. Okay.
Ajamang.
Cool.
I think that's where we're at. I hope
give me a score. Give me a score prediction. What do you think happens in this game?
You're asking the guy who's lost probably his last 10 sports bets. So let's just fade whatever this is. I think it's going to be 2-0.
That's what I'm thinking too. 2-0.
I think we can score. I think they're going to be cagey goals. I don't think we're going to see a ton of quality just because of the way that both teams are going to set up. I'm not super threatened by Guatemala on the defensive side. Canada gave up a PK, which is clearly in our locker as well. But if you just keep them out of your half, there's so much less damage that could actually happen to you. And I have a good feeling that we'll see Chris Richards and Tim Ream close to the midline spraying balls, more often than tracking back, following runners and seeing balls over the top. So I feel good about a win. I think it'll be cagey, but the Hoov prediction is 2-0 USA, Mexico in the final.
I'm gonna take a 2-0 win for the United States and a Chris Richards goal off a corner. I think that's gonna happen.
I love that. He's got one against Saudi Arabia, and he's been close on a couple others.
I think especially if Jack McGlynn is on the field, I think just his delivery is so fire.
Yeah.
Berhalter's is good too, but I think Jack McGlynn's comes in with so much pace.
You saw European Twitter, football man.
Yeah, they're like, who the fuck is this guy?
They're like, this kid hasn't missed a pass in 12 games. They're like, does anyone know anything about him?
Mm-hmm.
They're like, yeah, kind of. He's not the guy that you might think he is, but he's good.
But I mean, just call a spade a spade. I mean, Houston paid big money for him this offseason. Yeah. He got bought. What was he? Was he a New England Revolution guy? He was a Philadelphia Union.
Yeah.
He was Philadelphia Union.
Yeah, and
Houston went out and spent money on him. So it's not like he's just this random kid. They went out and carved out some cash for him. So I wouldn't be surprised.
16 games, 16 starts, 2 goals and 3 assists from the middle of the field is absolutely nothing to scoff at. That's good production out of an 8 on an MLS side.
And also, just for what it's worth, if you ever look at his goal catalog, bangers.
Yeah.
Nothing but, dude. He just posts bangers. But I do think that coming out of this season, I think Diego Luna will make the step up to go to Europe. I also think McGlynn will in the next couple of years. I don't know. We'll see.
Apparently, Patrick Ajamang is too. He's going to Derby County.
Daryl DK 2.0.
And that's disrespectful for my man DK. There's just no way. No way.
The guy could just never stay healthy, bro.
No.
All right, man. Well, let's wrap up here. Mecca fans, you know where to find us on Instagram, on Twitter, on TikTok. We're around. Come say hey at the pitch this Wednesday in St. Louis, Missouri. We will be there for pregame for the U.S. men's national team. And until then, cheers.
Cheers, lads.